Welcome everyone to Full Body Journey. This is going to be a presentation video for my channel where I'm going to introduce the kind of content that you will be able to find here, the kind of videos that will bring to this channel. I wanted to keep this video very simple, very discursive, very informal. Therefore, I've chosen to structure it as a Q&A video, even though all the questions come from myself. But without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so the first question I'm sure many of you will have when stumbling across this video is going to be, who are you exactly? So let me introduce myself. My name is Simone. Ever since I was a little kid, I've had an insane curiosity. I've always wanted to understand how the world works. So I wanted to understand how things work, how people work, and so I naturally chose to go down the academic route. So I got a degree and a PhD in chemistry, and I worked as a postdoc for a few years. Now, a few years ago, however, I started to struggle because on the one hand, I was starting to realize that the kind of knowledge that I was acquiring through research was very abstract. Now, I was enjoying the kind of research that I was doing. It was very fascinating. I was learning a lot, but what I was learning didn't seem to bring me closer to my overall goal of understanding how the world works, in fact. At the same time, I was starting to become very fascinated by psychology. And so I started to study in my free time psychology quite a lot. And so I was stuck, I was at this crossroads. And so I decided to drastically change my life. So I chose to leave the world of research and I became an instructor and a supervisor of Neurographica. Okay, so now I'm sure that some of you, while listening to my life story so far, will have come across the term Neurographic and will be thinking, wait a second, I've never heard of that term. What is that? Can you explain? Can you elaborate? Sure, I can. So let me introduce to you Neurographica. What's that exactly? So Neurographica is a technique that is relatively recent. It was invented as of recording this video. Neurographica just turned 11. So it was invented on the 29th of April 2014 by a Russian psychologist, Pavel Piskaryov. So what is it? Now, the technical formal definition of it is a method of project facilitation. But in more layman's term, it is a technique that that we use to work on ourselves in order to improve certain aspects of our life. It works mainly in two areas. So the first one is lodged, sort of related to our past, and the second one is more related to our future. So let me introduce both very briefly. So the first area in which Neurographica can help us comes from a work with our past. So we have certain events in our past, recent or not so recent, that cause negative emotions to us right now. Let me give you just an example. Let's just say that this morning you were driving to work and someone cut you off at an intersection and you got angry. And you've been angry for the whole rest of the trip, you got angry for the whole day, and you're still angry now. So why are you so angry? Other people, when certain, let's call them road misbehaviors, happen to them, they don't get angry, they're just a lot more calm about it. Why did you get so angry? So through Neurographica, you can work on that and try to figure out what is the root cause of your anger, and both work on the negative emotion that you're feeling right now to make it subside and make you feel less angry, and work on the root cause of the emergence of these negative emotions to make sure that in the future, if someone cuts you off again while you're driving, you don't get as angry. You're still, careful and you don't get into an accident, but you're not as angry that happened to you. The second area in which Neurographica can help you out is related to the future. So let's just say that we have a goal, an objective, something we want to achieve. Through Neurographica, we can figure out and plan out exactly what tools we need, what tools we already have, and what tools we need to retrieve and how we can retrieve them. And once we have the tools, we can figure out more theoretically, more generally, as a planning stage, so to say, how to use those tools to get to your goals, and then the practical steps that you need to undertake to get from you with the tools to you having reached your goal. So there are two areas here where Neurographica can help you out. Now, practically speaking, really practically, how do we employ Neurographica? So the way we do it is like this. We make a drawing this is a drawing that I made a while ago. I'm gonna leave it larger for you on the screen, on the video. Now, in order to do this drawing, we follow some specific rules because Neurographica has some very specific rules to follow in order to make a proper drawing. And then in order to make the drawing, we follow a series of passages, a series of steps called an algorithm. And then this allows us to go from a blank sheet to the finished drawing. While we are making the drawing, we then pay attention to our experience, we pay attention to how we feel, to what happens to us through all of our five senses, what our mind goes through as we make the drawing. And by being mindful of this and guiding this process that we are going through, we are able to obtain all sorts of insights, all sorts of ideas, all sorts of practical considerations that can help us in order to reach the goal that we set out, whether it was set on the past or on the future. So this is a bit of an example of how Neurographica works and how you can use Neurographica to help you with your own personal work. Okay, now I'm sure some of you will be thinking, okay, now I understand Neurographic a little bit better, but why should I study it? What's so special about it? Well, I think the greatest strength of Neurographica is that it is a highly personal method. What do I mean with that? I mean that everyone will get out of Neurographica something different, and everyone will get out of Neurographica what they really need, what they need in order to achieve their goals. And some of you might be thinking, wait a second, but you just said that Neurographica has some very specific rules to follow. Every time you make a drawing, you have this algorithm, this series of steps. They are the same for everyone. Where does this unicity come from? Where does this personalization come from? Well, it comes from the fact that, yeah, sure, the series of steps are the same, but how we transpose each one of those steps to the sheet changes from person to person because we are all different people. And how we go about making this drawing and what we experience while we are making this drawing changes. So let me give you a quick example. Let's just say that I want to work on a certain topic and I make a drawing using a certain sequence of steps on a certain topic. You make a drawing on the same topic using the same sequence of steps. We're going to make different drawings. Now, I'm not even considering the fact that I have more experience drawing Neurographica, so I'm more comfortable with it. I can draw it more technically soundly. But just from a purely transposition of the steps to the sheet, because we are different people, we're going to get different drawings. Not only that, but if you make a drawing right now on a certain topic using a certain sequence of steps, and you make the same drawing 6 months from now on the same topic with the same sequence of steps, the two drawings are going to be different. Because you are a different person. From now to 6 months, you have changed. How, it doesn't really matter. You have changed. Therefore, the two drawings will be different. And this is where I think this highly personalized nature of Neurographica comes in. And it becomes very useful because it sort of captures a snapshot of our mind at that particular point in time for that particular topic. And it changes from person to person and from moment to moment. So that is something that is very interesting and useful about Neurographica. Not only that, but it allows us to be very flexible about when we draw. So you don't need to always draw at the same point in time, at the same time, every day. If you have drawn for a week in the morning, and then you wake up today and this morning you're busy, and you cannot draw, you draw in the afternoon, you draw in the evening, no problem. Let's just say that today you're very busy. You're busy whole day. You don't have time to draw at all. No problem, you draw tomorrow. So Neurographica is very flexible in adapting to your schedule. Every one of us has a busy life. Therefore, we cannot always commit the time that we need to make a drawing every single day. Sometimes we have to be busy. And Neurographica allows us to be flexible with when we draw. Another thing is, We don't even have to have a strict schedule of topics we want to work on. The way we do it is when we sit down in front of the blank sheet, we are ready to begin drawing, then we decide what topic we want to work on at that specific point in time. If you plan to work on a week on a certain topic, you sit down today and you feel like working on something different, you'll work on something different, no problem at all. So from that point of view, I think neurographic is highly personal in the sense that it can really adapt to yourself. It adapts to the kind of situation you find yourself in at that specific point in time, and the result that you get out of it are different from the result that other people get. So that, I think, is a very strong point about neurographica. Now, of course, in order to get the most out of this technique, there is a caveat, of course. You have to be willing to take your life into your own hands. You have to be willing to take responsibility for your life. If that doesn't happen, then you will not be able to get the most out of neurographica, because at the end of the day, the only person who has full control of your life is yourself, not someone else. So if you make a drawing and you realize that you need to take some specific steps in order to achieve your goal, who's going to do it? You cannot ask someone else to do it. You have to do it. Therefore, in order to be able to fully use neurographic and use it to its fullest potential, you have to be willing to take your life into your own hands. That is something that is very important, and that is a mental shift that maybe at the beginning might be difficult to make it. I struggle quite a bit with it myself too, so no worries. But it is a mental shift that is necessary to appreciate and enjoy and get the most out of neurographica. Now, the next question is, okay, now I understand neurographic a bit better. I can understand its principle, I can understand its utility, but you still haven't told us what kind of content you want to bring to this channel. So what are you going to tell us? Are you going to talk about science? Are you going to talk about psychology? Are you going to teach us this neurographic? And what are you going to do? So I'm not going to talk about science, unfortunately, because it's a wonderful field, but I'm not going to talk about science in this channel at the very least. I'm not going to talk about psychology either, because I don't have the knowledge yet to be able to talk about it competently. It would take me several years of hard study in order to be able to do so. And I am not going to teach neurographica either, because I am a neurographica instructor. Therefore, I sell courses for you to learn how to use neurographica for yourself in your own personal life. So if you want to make this change, if you want to learn how to use neurographica and apply it to your own life, I'm happy to have you on board for my courses, but I sell these courses. They're not available for free. What I will bring to this in this channel is an example of what kind of results you can expect by doing neurographica. So I'm going to bring my own personal experience with drawing neurographica. So what am I going to do, really practically speaking? So off camera, I'm going to make a drawing. So I'm going to choose a topic. I'm going to choose an algorithm that I'm going to use, so the sequence of steps. And I am going to start from the blank sheet to the complete drawing. And as I'm drawing, I'm going to follow along I'm going to be mindful about what my experience has been through my five senses, through what I think as I go through the drawing. And then I go from the topic at the beginning to my solution at the end. Once I've done that, once I've finished the drawing, I'm going to turn my camera on and I'm going to revisit for you this entire flow of thinking that I have produced by making this drawing. So I'm going to start from the topic and I'm going to go all the way along my thinking, all the way to the final point. So I'm going to discuss in detail and I'm going to elaborate even further if necessary. Any insights that I have received related to the topic I was working on, any ideas that I have formulated, or any specific practical steps that I have decided to undertake as a result of me making this drawing. So any decisions that I have made related to actions I want to undertake in the near future, or like in the short term, in the midterm, in the long term, any actions I want to choose, I've chosen to undertake. So this way, by watching my videos, you're going to be able to have a clearer idea, a clearer understanding of how Neurographica works in practice, what kind of results you can get through Neurographica, and so what kind of changes a regular practice of Neurographica can bring to your life. Alright, so to close this video, I'm gonna answer to two questions that are related to this channel, the kind of videos that I will provide, and to Neurographica, that you might have formulated in your own mind as you were watching the video. So the first question is, okay, I understand Neurographica, I understand what its principles are, and I understand how it works somewhat, but I think this falls under the self-help, self-improvement umbrella, and to be honest with you, I'm sick and tired of this. There's too much content out there. There's too many people who want to tell you what the solution is to your problem. You never understand what the right solution is. So you have a problem, you listen to 10 videos by 10 people that tell you 5 different things. You have no idea who's telling you something true, who's telling you something false, who is genuinely wanting to help you out, or who is just trying to screw with you. So why should I watch your channel? Why should I watch your videos? Why should I learn Neurographica? What is different about these techniques? So first of all, this is a very, very good question, because I share your sentiment. I also think that the word of self-help and self-improvement is becoming a bit oversaturated. There's maybe a bit too much stuff, and it becomes difficult to figure out exactly who is genuinely trying to help you out. Maybe he might be wrong, but at least he's being honest in his attempt to try and help you, or who is there to deceive you. So imagine for a moment that, I don't know, you wanted to have an answer for a legal matter, and you went to 5 different lawyers. They tell you 5 completely different things that all sort of make sense in theory, in abstract, but you don't have the knowledge to understand who's telling you the truth or who's telling you something false. So how do you figure out what the right lawyer to go for is? It becomes very, very complicated. And in the world of self-help, it's the same exact thing. If you have many different answers, who should be the answer, which one should be the answer that you follow? Who should be the person that you are going to rely on, to that you're going to trust to give you some proper information? It becomes very, very difficult. So I definitely agree with your sentiment. But what I think is that the kind of content that I produce, my content and Neurographica, are sufficiently different in a positive sense from this kind of content that they can be very useful for you. And let me explain. So the 2 main critiques that I have with the world of self-help or self-improvement are these. So the first one is the fact that, as I said before, there's too much content and you do not know who to trust, because if you have a problem and you don't know what the solution is, so you're watching content related to your problem because you don't know what the solution is. You're trying to find the solution for your problem. So you listen to videos, or you watch a video, you watch a documentary, you listen to an interview, you listen to a podcast, you read an article, you read a book, you talk with this person, you talk with this person, you talk with that person, and you never hear the same answer. Everyone is giving you something different. So what do? It becomes very difficult, right? So I think the issue stems from the fact that everyone has a different solution for the same problem. If we have a group of 100 people that have the same generally formulated problem, the solution will be different. It will be almost impossible for all of them to have the same, to have the same solution, both in principle and in detail. So let me give you an example. Let's just say that we have 100 people. They all have the same problem. I do not like my job. And we sit them down, we make them draw Neurographica, do whatever other method you want to choose, to figure out exactly why they don't like their job and what they can do about it. Well, they're going to come up with many, many different answers. So for example, for some of them, the solution might be, well, you know what? You don't like your job because you would like to stay home all day doing nothing, just wasting away. That is not doable. You're an adult. Even worse if you have a family, like a wife, kids, or husband, whatever. You know, it's not good. You need to be able to take care of yourself or of other people that you need to take care of. So, get off your butt, start working harder, and stop wanting to do nothing from, day in, day out. Just you need to start working hard. You need a mentality shift. For some other people, the solution is you're doing a nice job, but you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you're better suited to be an employee. Or you're trying to be an employee, you're better suited to be an entrepreneur. For some other people, the solution is the job you're doing is okay, but you're in the wrong workplace. You need to change employer. You go to a different employer, you do the same job, the same exact duties, but it's going to be a much better experience. For some other people, it's going to be you're doing the wrong job because you have certain skills that you're not using at all in this job. So you need to change job completely. You need to go into a completely different field. Now, these are just 5 solutions that I came up with right off the bat. I just thought of a problem as I was recording. I thought of a topic as I was recording this video, and I just came up with some random solutions while I was talking. I'm sure that other people will come up with other different solutions. Everyone is different from everyone else. So we have different solutions that better suit us. And so if we go and watch a video, it's going to offer us one solution. So it's like a one size fits all. It doesn't really work in a society made of complex human beings that are all different from one another. We are not all the same. We are different. Therefore, the solution for us, the best solution for us, will change. From this point of view, I think that my content tackles this in a different way than most people, because I am not telling you, you have this problem, this is the solution. What I'm telling you is, you have this problem, I've had this problem too. Through Neurographica, this is the solution that I found. So I'm telling you what solution I found by using Neurographica to my problem. And with Neurographica, as I explained before, because it is such a personal method, because it is a method that gives different answers to different people or to the same person at different points in time, by doing Neurographica, you're not going to rely on someone else telling you what the solution to your problem is. You are going to find the solution to your problem, but you're going to find the solution that works best for you at that specific point in time. So from that point of view, we do not get into any pitfalls of trying to find a solution that works for everyone. With Neurographica, I find the solution that works best for me, and you find the solution that works best for you. So from that point of view, I think we are good. We are in the clear. Now, the second critique that I have towards the world of self-help or self-improvement is the fact that it does not encourage action. So you can spend your entire life, you have a bunch of problems everyone has. You can spend a bunch of time working on every single one of the issues that you are facing in your life. By reading, listening, watching, talking, you can do whatever you want, but consuming all of this content does not promote action. So it's very easy to fall into the trap of spending your entire life trying to acquire knowledge, trying to find magically the solution to your problem. But if you only try to find a solution on paper or on a screen, and you never put into action, you never put into practice the solutions that you find, you will never actually be able to solve your problems. And in many cases, this isn't really, they don't really put the accent on the practical steps that you need to undertake or on undertaking these steps. Many times it's a matter of, you have this problem, here's the solution. There you go. And they don't encourage you to work on it. Now, from this point of view, I think my content would be different, because at the end of my revisiting of the train of thought that I have as I was making this drawing, what I will do is explain 30 seconds to a minute, whatever time I need, what practical steps I will undertake in order to tackle the topic that I was working on or to achieve the goal that I set out for myself. So from that point of view, I am gonna distance myself from that, and I'm gonna be very clear on what steps I will undertake. Of course, I will not show you me practically doing these steps, but I'm gonna show you that I laid down the practical steps that I want to undertake. And through Neurographica, you can do that too. So you can figure out what the best way to get from point A to point B is, whatever they are, and what steps you need to undertake. So Neurographica can also tell you, now of course it's not that the practical steps that you need to undertake magically fall to you from the sky. You need to work for that. You need to be able to follow the procedure, you need to follow the algorithms, you need to follow the rules on Neurographica, but you will be able to obtain some practical steps that you need in order to achieve your goal. Let me give you an example. So let's just say that today I make a drawing on a topic of I want to get this channel to 1 million subs. So I can get some practical steps that I need to undertake. So for example, I need to establish collaboration with other content creators, or I don't want to establish collaboration with other content creators because they're potentially they give you more negatives than positive. I don't know. Or maybe it is like, well, I shouldn't really focus on the subs count right now. Maybe I should focus more on mastering the fundamentals. I need to make sure that I know how to talk very well in front of a camera. I need to know how to edit my videos quickly and properly. I need to know how YouTube works, so in order that to maximize the efficiency of my upload, so of the keywords and description and when to upload it and all that. So all of these are all practical steps. So in one case it is I need to establish collaboration. So who do I find? How do I get in touch with them? How do I structure the details of the collaboration? In the second case is I need to learn how to talk in front of a camera. So how do I do that? Do I need to do some courses? Do I need just to practice? What is it? I need to learn how to edit. Do I need to do courses? Do I need to just practice? Learn how YouTube works. Do I need to do courses, watch videos, just practice? What do I need to do? So as you can see, it's all a bunch of practical steps that you can undertake. So I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to show it to you while I am discussing the drawing that I have made. So you can also see how it is possible to give a more practically based focus as you are drawing Neurographica. So given this discussion that I've just provided you, I think my content is different enough from other contents that you can find in the world of self-help or self-improvement to the point where it can be useful for you as well. And Neurographica can be useful to you as well because it is a very personalized method. It's going to give you the solution, or rather than give you, it's going to lead you, because then you still need to make the effort, It's going to lead you to the solution that works best for you. Now, of course, it's not like you have a list of the practical steps you need to undertake and magically you're going to do them. You still need to put in the willpower. You still need to then practically do these things. So the drawing, just because you have found the list of steps you need to undertake, the drawing doesn't magically do those steps for you. As I said before, you need to be willing to take your life into your own hand. You need to take responsibility of your own life. So you find the practical steps, then it's up to you to implement them in your life. But Neurographica can really help you with finding those practical steps. So from this point of view, I think that even though, technically we might fall into the world of self-help or self-improvement, Neurographica and the type of content that I provide are different enough to where they can definitely be useful for you and for your own life. Okay, the last question that I want to answer in this video is this. Okay, now I understood Neurographica, I understand the principle, it's very interesting. I would be interested in learning more about Neurographica, but I'm not good at drawing. So I'm afraid that by not being good at drawing, I don't have a degree, I haven't done any courses, I don't really know how to draw. I'm afraid I won't be able to get much out of Neurographica. So what should I do? Well, the answer is you don't need to worry. Even if you don't have a degree in art, or if you haven't done any specific courses in learning how to draw, you can still learn how to draw Neurographica and you can still get the most out of it. All you need to do is you need to be able to hold a pencil, a marker, and a highlighter in your hands. If you can do these things, you can learn how to draw Neurographica. And I am the living embodiment of this, okay? I don't know how to draw. I have never done courses, I don't have a degree in art. If you put me and a 6-year-old boy side to side and you ask us to draw a realistic human face, he's going to do better than me. I'm not good. I'm not good at all. However, I can draw Neurographica very well because I showed you the drawing before, Neurographica is an abstract technique. So you don't need to be a master of perspective. You don't need to have perfected the art of shading in order to draw Neurographica competently. So you don't need to worry on that front. As long as you can hold the things in your hand, as long as you're able to go through the reflection process and be present and be mindful of what you're going through and think through that, you're still able to get the most out of Neurographica. Now, of course, if you have some great competencies in that front, you're very good in an artistic endeavor, well, that all for the better, it's great. And you have all of my respect because I don't know how to do that and I wouldn't even know where to start. So it's great to have it. It's something that can definitely be useful, but you don't need it in order to draw Neurographica properly. So from that point of view, do not worry if you're not able to draw some artistically realistic images. Neurographica you can still do very well. With this being said, now this was the last question, so this concludes the video. Thank you very much for watching, and in this video all of the questions that I provided an answer to came from me, came from myself. I wrote those. But if this channel starts to get some traction and the sub count increases, I have no problem with having some Q&A sessions where you provide the answer, where you provide the questions, and I will provide the answers. So if you have any questions while watching this video, or if you are watching other videos from my channel, you can write them down somewhere, and as soon as I organize a Q&A session, I will notify it somewhere, either on my socials or on YouTube, and you will be able to ask me the questions that you have and I will answer them. So don't worry about that. We can definitely organize some Q&A sessions in the future. With this being said, this concludes the video, so thank you very much for watching, and ad maiora.